Welcome back to The Deep Dive. Today, we are doing something a little different. Usually when we talk about underground music culture, we're picturing, dark rooms, low ceilings, maybe a couple hundred people sweating it out in a basement somewhere in Berlin or Chicago. It's intimate, it's a secret.
That is the traditional image, yes. The roots of the culture.
All right. But today, we are blowing the roof off that basement.
Oh, yeah.
We are stepping out into the blinding sun. We're talking pyrotechnics, CO2 cannons, crowds of 50, 60,000 people, and a bass line so big it feels like it's going to knock the wind out of you. We are tracking the moment a specific genre of music went from the cool, dark corner of the club to the absolute main stage of the world.
It's a fascinating shift. We're looking at a very specific high-energy era in electronic music. The moment when tech house stopped being just a genre for the heads and became a global stadium-filling phenomenon.
And when we look at the research and the history of this movement, the sheer scale of it is what jumps out at you. It's not just that the crowds got bigger. The sound itself physically changed to fill that space. We're unpacking how that happened, who the architects were, and honestly, the really weird way social media might have engineered the whole thing.
That's the part I'm really interested in digging into.
Yeah.
There's a strong argument to be made that this music wasn't just shaped by DJs, but by algorithms. It's a case study in how content drives art.
Which sounds a little dystopian when you put it that way, but we'll get there. First, we have to set the timeline. If you look at the history of electronic music, usually things move in waves. It's a slow tide. Gradual, deep house gets popular for a few years, then maybe techno creeps in. But looking at the data for this specific movement, it feels less like a tide and more like a tsunami.
Very abrupt. If you look at the charts and the festival lineups, there's a clear line in the sand, a distinct before and after, and that line is drawn right through 2018.
2018, the year everything changed.
The year of the explosion. Before 2018, tech house was certainly popular. It was the cool kids genre. It was rolling, rhythmic, a bit understated. But in 2018, one specific track dropped that essentially rewrote the rulebook.
I think I know exactly where you're going with this. You can't talk about this era without talking about the Australian wildman himself, Fisher.
Fisher. And of course, Losing It.
Losing It. I mean, you literally could not escape that song. If you went to a club, a festival, a gym,
a coffee shop,
even a taco shop in 2018, you heard that foghorn.
It's interesting you call it a foghorn because sonically that is exactly what it was. And that's important. Think about traditional house music. It's usually built on piano chords, soulful vocals, maybe a funky bass guitar sample. It's warm.
Right, it's got a bit of soul to it.
Exactly. But Losing It was mechanical, it was stripped back, it had this massive, distorted, synthesized horn blast that cut through everything. It wasn't designed to make you dance with a groove, it was designed to make you jump.
It was aggressive. I remember the first time I heard it on a big system, it didn't feel like a house track, it felt like an EDM track wearing a house music costume.
That is the perfect way to describe it.
Yeah.
And that is why it was the catalyst. It bridged the gap. You had the EDM kids, the ones who used the big room sounds of Martin Garrix or Hardwell, who wanted that adrenaline rush, that drop.
No.
And then you had the house heads who wanted the cool 44 rhythm. Fisher managed to combine them. He took the credibility of tech house and injected it with the steroids of big room EDM.
And the personality helped, right? I mean, Fisher isn't exactly the shy, mysterious DJ type.
Not at all. He's a former pro surfer. He's loud, he's chaotic, he's constantly filming himself. He became the face of the sound. But musically, Losing It established what we now call the festival groove.
Let's unpack that term, festival groove, because to me, those words almost contradict each other. A groove is something you settle into. It's repetitive, it's hypnotic. A festival is about spectacle. It's about, short attention spans.
Precisely. A groove is a horizontal experience. It pulls you along. A festival is a vertical experience. It pushes you up and down. So a festival groove is a hybrid. It keeps the tempo and the drum pattern of house music, that steady thump-thump-thump. But the elements on top are designed for maximum impact. Giant snare builds that last for 16 bars. white noise sweeps that sound like a jet engine taking off.
So it's the difference between a conversation and a shout.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
If you're playing to a dark room of 300 people, you can whisper. You can be subtle. If you're playing to 50,000 people at sunset on the main stage, whispering doesn't work. You have to shout. Fisher showed everyone how to shout in Tech House.
But he wasn't the only one shouting. He might have kicked the door down, but there was a whole squad walking through right behind him. We see a few other names that really define this titan class of the genre.
The heavy hitters. Fisher was the spearhead, but you had artists like Chris Lake, CamelPhat, and Sonny Fodera who really solidified the infrastructure of this sound.
Let's talk about Chris Lake for a second, because in the industry, he's kind of looked at differently than Fisher, isn't he?
Very much so. If Fisher is the front man, the rock star energy, Chris Lake is the architect. He's the producer's producer. His sound design is incredibly clean, very punchy. He took that festival groove concept and professionalized it.
Yeah.
He proved that you could make music that was technically perfect, but still had that raw, massive energy needed for the big stages.
And then you have CamelPhat. I feel like they brought a slightly different flavor, maybe a bit more emotional.
A bit more melodic, certainly, but still heavy. They managed to keep that anthem energy songs you can sing along to, but paired it with these thundering, rolling bass lines. It's music that works just as well on the radio as it does in the middle of a strobe light storm.
And Sonny Fodera.
Sonny is the gateway. He brings the vocals, he collaborates with great singers. His tracks are very accessible. If you're trying to get your friend who only listens to pop music into Hacia, you play them Sonny Fodera.
Okay, so we have this roster. We have the wild band, the architect, the melodic duo, and the vocal king. But they all share the same DNA. They're all making festival tech house.
Yes, they are all creating music specifically designed to be consumed by thousands of people simultaneously. And that intention, that goal of bigness, changes how the music is written.
Which leads us to the part of this deep dive that I find the most mind-bending. We've established the sound is big, but why? Why did it get this specific sound? There's a term that pops up in the analysis of this era that stops me in my tracks every time I see it.
Instagram tech house.
Instagram tech house. It sounds like an insult.
It does.
It sounds like something a grumpy old DJ would say to yell at a cloud. But it's actually a really functional description, isn't it?
It's incredibly descriptive. It suggests a feedback loop. We often think art influences culture, but here, the platform Instagram is influencing the art.
So break that down. How does an app change the way a kick drum sounds?
Think about how we consumed content in 2018, 2019, and today. You're scrolling. You have the sound on maybe. You see a video of a DJ. What is happening in that video?
It's usually the drop. The hands are in the air, the CO2 cannons go off, the crowd goes wild.
Exactly. It's a 15-second clip. That is the currency of the era. So if you are a producer and you want your track to be shared, you need a moment that fits in that 15-second window. You need a drop that is visually and sonically explosive.
Wait, are you saying producers are sitting in the studio with a stopwatch thinking, I need to make sure this sounds good on a phone speaker for exactly 15 seconds? That seems, well, cynical.
I would say they are that calculated in a malicious way, but it's evolutionary pressure. Tracks that had those massive, simple, catchy moments got shared more. They got reposted by other DJs. They blew up. Tracks that were 7 minutes long, slow-building, subtle journeys.
They just didn't work on Instagram.
They didn't work. So the algorithm naturally selected for the bangers. Precisely. The research highlights 3 key words that define Instagram tech house: simple, catchy, and commercial.
Let's challenge those words a bit. Simple. Is that a bad thing?
Not necessarily. In this context, simple means legible. If you're listening on an iPhone speaker, or if you're hearing a clip recorded on a shaky phone at a festival, complex layers get lost. A simple distorted bass line and a shouting vocal sample. That cuts through. It survives the compression of social media.
Okay, that makes sense. It's about clarity. What about catchy?
The earworm factor. It's the hook. Because the attention span is so short, the hook has to be immediate. It can't wait. You need a vocal snippet or a synth riff that sticks in someone's head after one listen. Losing it is the prime example. You hear that horn once, you remember it forever.
And then the big scary word, commercial.
The word that makes purists shudder.
Yeah, usually commercial implies selling out. It implies watering things down.
But here, I think it points to accessibility. Commercial means it has mass appeal. It's not alienating. It's music that invites everyone in. By stripping away the darker, weirder elements of underground techno or house and replacing them with big builds and catchy hooks, the genre became a product that could be sold to the masses.
It became a brand.
It did. And brands need a marketplace. Which brings us to where this music actually ended up living.
The promised land. The main stage.
The venues mentioned in our look back at this era are not nightclubs. They are Coachella and Tomorrowland.
It really is a culture shock when you think about where house music started.
Oh, absolutely.
We're talking about marginalized communities in Chicago, warehouses, intimate vibes, connection. Now, we are talking about Tomorrowland, which basically looks like a sci-fi city built for giants.
The scale is astronomical, and this connects back to the physics of the sound we discussed. When you are playing the main stage at Tomorrowland, you are playing to a sea of people that stretches to the horizon. There is wind, there is distance.
So subtle doesn't just get boring, it physically disappears.
Exactly. A complex, jazzy chord progression turns into mud by the time it reaches the back of the crowd. But a simple, catchy festival tech house track, a massive kick drum, that travels. It's engineered for that specific environment.
So, in a way, the Instagram tech house sound wasn't just for the phone. It was also the only sound that worked for the sheer size of the crowds these guys were suddenly pulling.
It's a perfect storm. The sound worked for the viral clip on the phone, and the sound worked for the massive experience in real life. The two reinforced each other. You see the clip on Instagram, it looks massive. You buy the ticket to Tomorrowland to feel that massive energy. The DJ plays the track, you record it, you post it on Instagram. The cycle continues.
And the titans, Fisher, Lake, CamelPhat, they were the ones who understood this cycle better than anyone.
They rode the wave perfectly. They graduated the genre. They took it from the side stage to the closing slot.
It's essentially a conquest. Tech house ate the world for a few years there.
It did. It became the dominant sound of global partying.
But looking back at it now, with a bit of distance, 2018 feels like a while ago. Do you think this Instagram era changed music for the better? Or did we lose something in that translation to the big stage?
That's the eternal debate, isn't it? We gain spectacle, we gain production value, we gain a shared global moment where everyone knew the words to the drop, but we arguably lost some nuance. We lost some of the patience that the genre used to demand.
That's what sticks with me, the patience. Because when everything is designed to be a highlight, nothing is a journey anymore.
If you skip to the good part, you miss the context.
Exactly. And that's the thought I want to leave everyone with today. We've talked about how this music was shaped, simple, catchy commercial, to fit perfectly into a 15-second social media clip and a massive festival set. It's incredibly effective. It works.
It triggers the dopamine, absolutely.
But the next time you're at a show, or even just watching one on your phone, ask yourself, are you listening to the song, like the actual song? Or are you just waiting for the 15-second highlight reel that you can post?
Are we consuming the art? Or are we just consuming the advertisement for the art?
That is the question. And hey, if the drop is good enough, maybe it doesn't matter. But it's worth thinking about. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
Always a pleasure.
Catch you on the next one.